Hello everyone and welcome to the This or That podcast where we take two films that have links and discuss the reasoning as to why we prefer one to the other. This week we have chosen two football films, 2005's Green Street and 2004's Football Factory. I'm joined as always by Callum Hall.
Hello.
And Jules Masters.
Hello.
So yeah, we're going to just crack on with the films and talk about, you know, what we liked about them, what we didn't like about them. First of all, I know the reason I picked these films was because I knew that you both hate watching them.
Because you're a little football hooligan, is why you chose the films.
Well, I'm not a hooligan. I'm more of just I like football, but I don't like the hooliganisms. Sorry, guys, if you're listening, but I don't.
We do not support football hooliganism.
No, just to clarify.
Just say off the top.
Just to say, we don't support that at all. But these two films were the films I picked, and I picked them because they were films that I watched in my teens. I liked them when I was a teen. I thought they were really cool. Like, I'd never seen films like it before. Gritty, something that wasn't too far out of reach as well, something that I've actually seen in day-to-day life from being a Nottingham Forest fan. Not that I've been involved in it, but I've seen trouble start at football games, and
supposedly
it's always been a sort of fascinating thing, I guess. Like, why does football drive people to act like this? No other sport in the world has people that go to these lengths to commit violence at any other game. Like, rugby players literally kick the shit out of each other for 80 minutes and the crowd's mixed and there's no trouble, and if there is, it's minor. But at football games, it's just hatred.
Yeah, it is atrocious, and being someone that is not a football fan, I can watch a game and, you know, have a nice time, as we all recently did, watching the Euros at the time of recording. It's only like 4 days ago or whatever. So, you know, had a lovely time. But, you know, I wasn't jumping out my chair when they scored. I know both of you two were.
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, it's never really been my thing. And to watch these films and be exposed and learn about this stuff, which, you know, I have a vague idea about. I was very aware of Green Street, had no idea about Football Factory. It is an interesting world, and it is a horrible world.
Yeah, pretty much, but interesting, I think. I mean, from doing research, so let's just talk about the first film. So Green Street was the first one I watched. I don't know about you, which order you watched them in. Green Street was the first one that I watched ever before we were doing this episode. I watched that, like I said, in the start in my teens, and then that was the first football hooligan film I'd watched, and then I later watched Football Factory, and I preferred Green Street to Football Factory, but only because I think I'd seen that one first. The rivalry between Millwall and West Ham. So, you know, the story of Green Street is Elijah Wood is a Harvard school. His character is a Harvard school dropout, wrongly expelled for having a stash of his roommate's cocaine in his wardrobe. His roommate is some sort of American politician's son or something. He's
some dickhead, yeah.
Some twat who's really powerful, and he basically says to Matt, Elijah Wood's character, take this $10,000, that's sort of collateral for you getting caught in the crossfire sort of thing. So he takes the 10 grand and goes to England to see his sister, and then gets involved in a city firm, the GSE.
The firm. Interesting. You know, I kind of knew that phrase before, but I didn't really know what it was. It is interesting how it seems to be born out of World War II, as pretty much everything in this fucking country is. Just referring back to World War II at any given goddamn...
It was a big thing.
And it was a big thing, so fair enough. It's basically the kids as soldiers feeling like they're missed out on war, so they go out and fight other football fans. Doesn't make any sense to me. Green Street certainly goes for more of a film feel.
Yes.
Over Football Factory. I watched Football Factory last night and
Nice.
with my housemate, and it was great. I love Football Factory. I thought it was so fun to watch. I did not expect to like it so much. And then I watched Green Street today, day of recording. And yeah, not as fun. It definitely got more money behind it. Recognize a lot more people in it. There's 2 people from Band of Brothers in it. at the very least. Yeah, it's a weird film, Green Street, because I was watching Football Factory and I was like, you know what, like a film of this kind of story would be really good with like a redemption arc and all this kind of stuff. And then I watched that exact film and I went, no, actually, Football Factory was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
I think it's interesting because the way I saw it was that Football Factory was more like a documentary.
Yeah.
And Green Street was more of a like Hollywood style film.
Yeah.
And that does seem to be exactly.
Yeah, especially when you have an American point of view in it as well to sell it overseas, essentially.
I mean, the funny thing is reading the comments and the reviews for Green Street, the Americans absolutely love that film. They love it. And everyone's saying, you know, I'm American and don't really understand the British accents, the heavy British accents in this, but as a film, it's brilliant. I saw 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10 reviews for Green Street. And then, like you said about Football Factory, that sort of more like a Train Spotting vibe is what I thought of, more proper gritty.
Very down to earth.
Yeah, the difference I find between the two films is that Green Street is more realistic in terms of the rivalries. The whole film is about Millwall and West Ham have always hated each other. I decided to do a bit of history checking as to see where this rivalry came from. So it started off in and around 1924. A massive company started a factory on the docks where a lot of people from Millwall worked. Just across the river were the Thames Iron Works, which is where most people from West Ham worked, which is where West Ham get the name the Irons from.
Aren't they called the Hammers?
No, they're called the Irons. But they're called West Ham. They've got called West Ham.
Does say Hammers in the film, yeah.
But they say, come on, you
Multiple
Irons.
names.
Both those dockside companies, they had football teams, so they played amateur level.
Yeah.
Against each other. From what I could gather, it started when there was a general strike for dock workers, and the Millwall workers were the first ones to cross the picket line to then end the strike. And then it goes on from there into the 70s, where a Millwall supporter was pushed under a train and killed in a fight.
Okay.
And then 10 years later, in the 80s, a West Ham fan was stabbed to death by Millwall fans in a tube station. Later, in 2009, I want to say, that was the last significant meeting that they had in the League Cup. I remember actually being at a Forest game and looking at half time at the scores for the League Cup. I'd literally watched Green Street maybe a month before, and on the scores it said Millwall West Ham, and I remember elbowing my mate and going, fucking hell, I bet it's kicking off over there. And then literally the next day it was all over the news that there'd been massive fights and riots and stuff, and that was the last notable time that they clashed in real life. But obviously now West Ham are in the Premier League and Millwall are in League One or Championship, I think now. So they rarely ever meet, and it'd be even rarer for them to meet in the cup because it's all drawn, isn't it? So that'd just be by chance or luck, whatever you want to look at.
I just want to point out that in the other film, Football Factory, it's Chelsea versus Millwall. So apparently Millwall has a lot of grievances with people.
Millwall's famous.
Which Millwall is famous, and I know that. Even I know Millwall is aggressive, and you don't want to go around there on football day.
I would say the key thing about this film, Green Street, is obviously the accents.
Yes, let's talk about Charlie Hunnam in particular.
Yeah, just get out of the way,
Yeah, because it's
bizarre.
Woeful.
An Englishman.
Well, yeah. I nearly said
What, yeah.
Well,
obviously he's
only a Geordie.
He is from Newcastle.
I didn't mean it like that.
Start a rivalry.
Sorry, Geordies, if you're listening. I didn't mean it. I love your accent. Your accent's amazing. What I'm saying is that I would think that if you're an actor, you'd be able to just...
Well, everyone else in the film can do the accent.
Well,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yes and no, but I think compared to Football Factory, the accents in the Football Factory are right.
Well, once again, like you're saying, documentary style Football Factory, it just feels like they got them off the street, and it just feels like they are those people.
Well, the point with the accent, I think, is insane, is in King Arthur, which is a much more recent film, which is Charlie Hunnam with Guy Ritchie.
Yeah.
He does the same accent.
Yeah.
And that film loses Warner Brothers $150 million.
Yeah.
And I think that is down to the accent and also how shit the film is. Oh, he's done it again.
Yeah.
Everyone is saying how terrible it is, and it's like the worst part of the film.
He does a great American accent. Like when he's Jack,
I thought he was American.
Sons of Anarchy, he does an incredible
People think
accent.
he is American.
Well, when he finished Sons of Anarchy, I think maybe not King Arthur, maybe he didn't do it in time for that, but I think at least for The Gentleman, he had to hire a dialect coach to teach him how to sound English again because he just completely lost it.
Even The Gentleman,
but it sounds like he didn't. But in The Gentleman, he has a voice as well. He has this weird voice, so it kind
it's
of
more Geordie though.
It is,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
fine.
But it's
That's
still
absolutely
not,
fine with me.
It's still odd.
Yeah, but it's a weird voice, so I don't mind it. It's like part of the character, you know what I mean? Like maybe he is a bit American. You don't know much about the guy, whereas the guy, the people they're displaying in these films are obviously meant to be from London,
East London, South London, yeah.
Yeah, and the accents are they are confusing. It is hard to hear them sometimes.
Yeah.
The Cockney rhyming slang. I mean, at one point in Football Factory, they put subtitles on because he says some rhyming slang to mean, I'm going to meet you in the pub. I'll bring my gear, cocaine.
I'll bring my tools.
I'll bring my tools, which
Yeah,
means it's coke,
yeah.
to have a night down the pub. But they deliberately put subtitles on, so you know what they're talking about. So it's very interesting how they pick and choose.
I agree. And like with Football Factory, I hadn't watched these films for many years. I think I can't even remember the last time I watched them. Upon watching them again, I would definitely say I enjoyed Football Factory way more this time around than I did Green Street.
It's hilarious.
Because
it's absolutely hilarious.
But Danny Dyer, I don't know if it's because I've warmed to Danny Dyer nowadays because he's a bit of he's a national treasure now and everyone loves him and he's royalty and, you know, like...
Starring on Gogglebox at the moment, absolutely starring.
Yeah.
But he's just fantastic. He's so funny and, like, you know, he's brilliant. And in that, it's just... Because after he did Football Factory, he actually did, you know how there was that reality show he did, you know, Danny Dyer's Hardest Men and stuff like that.
Deadliest
So
Men.
Deadliest Men.
After Football Factory, he went to, might give off the wrong thing there. Danny Dyer's Hardest Men.
Deadliest Men.
Yeah, but I said Hardest Men. So.
Oh, I see, yes.
But anyway, but he actually went to meet real members of the Chelsea Headhunters, which is the Chelsea firm in real life.
Real Football Factories. It was a
that's
did a
it. Yeah,
documentary,
the Real
which
Football
makes
Factory.
sense. The only thing that irked me about Football Factory was the number of times it did the premonition of him being beaten up.
Yeah, it doesn't do that quite as well. I thought it was, you know, interesting.
I think it was interesting, but just the number of times it did it, I was like, I've seen this scene too many times now.
Yeah, I mean, Football Factory thinks you're an idiot. The film thinks you're an idiot because it does narration the entire time from Danny Dyer's character, but it also, like, all the dialogue in it is just exposition. So you'll have narration. It's almost like in watching, like, anime. The narration will tell you what the character is thinking and doing or going to do in the scene. And then all the dialogue is just talking about what they're doing in the scene. And yet, somehow, I found the dialogue more realistic in Football Factory for whatever reason. It was bizarre.
The exposition was done in dialogue in Green Street. Like he was almost doing the exposition. He was telling Elijah Wood about it.
But that's the point of that character.
It was so obvious that
you can explain
he was
things.
doing. It wasn't like organic. It was just kind of, it was very clear that he was like, here's me telling you.
No, but it's like it's such a cinema trope that it's like accepted, isn't it, as real. You know, that's the point of Elijah Wood's character, is that he has no familiarity with this. So Charlie Hunnam does have to explain the P's and Q's and the Cockney rhyming slang and all that, which, you know, to be honest, was helpful.
Where's the brother of Charlie Hunnam? Where's he getting all his money from? He's in a very fancy house in the middle of London.
One thing that always makes me laugh about this film is about Green Street is the jobs that they have outside of the GSE is just insane. Like,
I had no idea they had jobs until halfway through the film either. I just thought they were all football hooligans and they made the money selling coke or whatever. Like, I just thought...
But so Pete, who is Charlie Hunnam's character, he's a primary school teacher, PE and history, and then one of them, Dave, who's the one you said from Band of Brothers, the other one, the one with dark hair.
Yeah,
he is a pilot.
Yes,
and then
insane.
One of them's a graphic designer. One of them works in a call center. And then Pete's brother, he's like a broker or an investor, like stocks and shares or something. Like he's an investor or something like that.
That is interesting because in Green Street they're all white collar, whereas in Football Factory it's
way more realistic.
Collar.
Like they all work like. So he works at a.
Is that actually more realistic? Because for me, it seemed way more realistic that in Football Factory, all these blokes worked for one of them who had a flower shop, which essentially was a front for their drug business, which made it seem like a gang.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that seemed more realistic.
That's what I'm saying. I agree with that. Football Factory is more realistic
because Green Street kind of just had that Fight Club vibe.
How do they know each other?
Yeah.
So where's this pilot meeting this stockbroker?
Yeah,
well, presumably they're like old childhood friends. Like, that's the only way I
or they all
think
just drink
about it.
at the Abbey, which is the pub in Green Street. But then it's like there's so many unanswered questions in Green Street that make me wonder. Like, even the ending, we'll get to that, but even the ending leaves me with so many questions. As a story arc with Elijah Wood, if you can get Bilbo Baggins out of your mind for a bit, Frodo Baggins, cut that out of his claim to be a fan as well.
Leave it in.
I will.
You must be shamed.
So if you take Frodo Baggins out of your mind for a minute, I think his story arc is pretty good. Like, in terms of, he's blue collar. No, sorry, is it white collar?
Yeah.
When you posh. White collar
when you posh. Yeah.
Student at Harvard who then basically starts kicking fuck out of people. But I do think it was I think it was a bad casting, to use Elijah Wood. Badfully cast.
The same as Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah, and like, but all the other.
Well, I don't necessarily think he's the worst
He
cast
looks the
if he could
part.
do an accent.
He looks the
But he
part
can't,
for sure.
So it's bad casting.
But I mean,
Yeah.
God, you couldn't have expected him to do a bad accent like that. That is.
Well, you audition them.
I know, but
He's not
yeah.
famous at this point, so there was an audition process.
That's what it looks like. It's like with Football Factory. It's a bit like in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, where they get Vinnie Jones.
Yeah.
They get him because that's
authentic,
who they want,
essentially.
And it feels like Football Factory. All those people are actors, and I've seen other things. They look like the people, and they sound like the people, and they are the types. I can imagine that person being an air conditioning unit guy, and
it all looks early noughties. It all sounds early noughties. I think the soundtrack's better personally in Football Factory.
Yeah.
A lot of the streets and some other stuff that maybe I don't like as much, but
Suits the vibe.
it suits the vibe. Whereas Green Street was just kind of nothing. No real vibe to it. And you said it was 2005. I thought it was later. I thought it was like 2000.
2005.
Is it?
2005,
Bloody
yeah.
hell. So it's a year apart as well, which is insane. But yeah, I thought Football Factory, the way they speak is hilarious. Because I've just heard that, like, when they're chatting up the birds in the club.
Yeah.
Couple of cheeky tequilas.
You know what I love? Oh, she'll get on it.
Should get on it.
And it's just
Couple
like,
of cheeky tequilas.
and it's just like
Got a tequila.
that's for sure what Danny Dyer was like. There's no way that's not what he's
Danny
like.
Dyer playing Danny Dyer.
But it has that sort of Lock, Stock vibe, that Snatch vibe, like a Guy Ritchie vibe, even though it's not a Guy Ritchie film. And Train Spotting as well, sort of cult classic-esque with, way more gritty.
It just feels real. It just feels like the people who made the film were closer to that environment, the way Guy Ritchie was, the way these people were. They just knew the world a bit more.
Yeah.
Whereas Green Street, I just feel like, it feels very Hollywood script.
I think nowhere that comes across more so, I think, is in the way they go to the pub, and in Football Factory, they are constantly doing drugs.
And
in Green Street, none. And it's the classic
there
part.
none?
No,
Really,
you
there's
don't
none.
really
It's
see them.
Hollywood,
You don't
isn't it?
see
It's
them
not.
do coke at
Oh
all.
my God.
It's that kind of a bit more clean vibe. Whereas in Football Factory, it's like that's the cat. You can see that's the catalyst. That's
all they do is drink and do cocaine.
It drives most of the scene.
Also, I thought the more realistic thing is that they don't go to the football match.
Yeah.
In Football Factory.
No.
They don't go to the football
That
match
is realistic.
because that's not the point.
No.
Whereas in Green Street, they actually go to the matches. Or there was one point in Green Street where they were like, we're the most watched country in the world. And they put their hoods up to presumably sneak into the football match. But they didn't sneak in because they would have to get tickets. There's a steward. You see in the shot, there's a steward letting them in. So what was the point of putting your fucking hoods up?
And
I didn't understand it whatsoever.
Yeah. And they've already all looked at the camera.
Yeah,
Like,
look at that camera dead in the eye.
Unhooded.
Put your hood up.
And it's the same again, like after the match where Matt's like, I'm going to go home now. And they go, oh yeah, well, the way back. And they're saying, and they're going like, oh, come on, they're waiting for us. We've got to go for the meet now, surrounded by 30 coppers. And you'd think one copper would be like, what the fuck are they up to? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there was a lot more police
Like, it wasn't a
presence
secret-
in Football Factory. Like when a fight broke out, like the police came fairly quickly, or like you felt their presence, like there was the risk of getting caught. Like the guy beats up some Tottenham fans in a car park and gets arrested. Because of course he bloody would. It's a gas station, bloody hell. A petrol station.
You're just like Elijah Wood.
Yeah, just like Elijah Wood. I want to go to Harvard.
I want to be a journalist.
Like, that's just realistic. Whereas in Green Street, there was just constantly these fights, and then they would just walk away. Like,
police presence, is huge around there.
Like, they get, because now, because one of the things I thought watching this film is that this really doesn't happen anymore, because you're essentially escorted from the station to the match normally.
Yeah, the policing is a much more. I mean, they pay a huge amount of money to have the policing in football. I mean, but the thing about them not caring about the football is definitely, because I remember watching either of Danny Dyer's Deadliest Men or Real Football Factory or something like that, and the people you were speaking to would swap firms. Because they were like, these firms are better, and they were like, how much do you care about football? And it was like,
so it's about being a soldier.
Yeah, so they wouldn't go and watch games, and also that'd be a terrible thing to do because it would make you much more likely to be caught because of the CCTV stuff
and the police.
Like, I mean, a lot of people in football stadiums don't even watch football anyway. They just literally sit at the bar in the football stadium and drink, because you can't drink in the stands. So it definitely wasn't.
This was pointless. It was probably at its peak in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early noughties, but they used to do it in secret. Like, they'd organise meets, and I've read things and heard stories from people at football grounds and old boys at football grounds who've told stories about hooligans back in the 70s and 80s, where they were saying they'd take an ad out in the paper with like a sort of cipher on it. Not a cipher, I mean, we're not...
No, but that's the point of Cockney rhyming slang, was to avoid the law on the docks or whatever, for getting away with whatever.
But nowadays, with social media, camera phones, all that, like, it doesn't really happen anymore. And if it does, it happens in the streets with old blokes, it seems to be, or whenever there's like a big European or world tournament on, it seems to happen.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what all this football hooligan stuff, you know, it's very reminiscent of Fight Club. It's very reminiscent of like incel culture nowadays, of young men not feeling like they have a place in the world, or feeling like they're being left behind, or they don't have a family or whatever, or they don't have friends as a kid, so they get taken in somewhere. I mean, that's essentially Elijah Wood's story arc in Green Street. It just made me realise that there's just always been something to prey on young men and essentially their loneliness in the world, and not being able to figure it out for themselves, and always looking up to someone to guide them.
Yeah, and I think both films do a good job and sort of tell the truth, the brutal truth about how detrimental it is to their lives and how hard it is for them to have any sort of meaningful relationships and stuff like that.
Fair enough, but both films, especially Football Factory, fooled me into thinking there was going to be a redemption arc of, actually, this is all terrible, we shouldn't do this. Danny Dyer, he's having these premonitions throughout the entire film about how either he's going to die, you don't know who's going to die, some kid in bandages, but he's going to get beaten the shit out of, and some kid's going to die. And then all those things come true, and he limps back into the pub going, would I have it any other way? No, of course I fucking wouldn't. This is great, isn't it? It's fucking great being a football hooligan with the lads. And I'm just like, oh, but I actually enjoyed that in Football Factory, because that felt real. This guy, because throughout Football Factory, everyone's going, come on, I can't remember his name. Come on, Danny, you're a smart lad. Figure it out. Meaning they're fascist people taking advantage of you and blah blah blah. And every time I thought someone said, "Come on, Danny, you're a smart kid," I went, "No, he's not. He's an idiot. He's being taken advantage of." And every time you say that, he had this look of bemusement on his face, like, what? And then he would have a premonition, which essentially told him exactly the same thing, and he'd go, what the fuck does that mean? I'm having weird dreams. Get me some coke.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is what you're left with at Football Factory, is like, what have I watched?
Yeah.
What's actually happened here?
It's
you've just seen a snippet where he's had a bit of self-doubt or something, and then that's it. Which is what is much more like a documentary, because it's just like you're following these people where if you ask them a few questions, they're like, oh, I don't really get it.
Yeah, they just push it down further.
Yeah. Okay, the difference then would be that Football Factory sort of leaves you to take your own viewpoint from it at the end, in terms of like, you either think this is great and I want to be a part of that, or you think
as a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah, you'd be like, that looks fucking joke. I want to do that. Or as an older adult, you'd be like, they're actually pretty lame, and I don't want to. My anxiety would be through the roof if I was at the pub with these lot.
Well, they said Danny Dye is nearly 30, which we all are, and he's doing so much drinking, so much coke. It gave me some slight anxiety because I was just like, oh my God, like that so much. And
On characters,
yes.
I thought in Green Street that, is it Bother?
Bother, yeah.
Bother, I think he's quite a good character. And I actually think Tommy Hatcher.
Bother's the one who hates Elijah Wood the whole time.
Who looks like Elijah Wood's brother.
Yeah.
They should have played brothers, not the guy from Band
Who
of
definitely
Brothers.
fancies Pete as well. Bother definitely fancies
Yeah,
Pete.
there's gay undertones for sure.
But then Tommy Hatcher is also, who's the leader of the Millwall firm in Green
he
Street.
seemed recognisable.
But he also seemed realistic. Like he was like, those two were actually decent characters.
Yeah, my son's died. I've gone mental.
And then when Tommy Hatcher, he says that like line where he's only a poor little hammer while he absolutely batters Charlie Hunnam's face in.
Yeah, he's
that's a poignant moment in the film.
Yes,
and those two characters are actually good. The rest of them, no.
I did feel like emotions with Green Street more
emotional
like
things.
There's more emotional things happening, like that guy's kid dying, and I'm just going to call him Blythe because that's what his character's name in Band of Brothers is. Steve. Yeah, the one who's quit. The Major. I'll call him the Major.
Yeah, the Major.
The Major, the mystery Major, man. Seeing it and being like, oh, this is fucked. A 12-year-old kid has just got his head stomped in, and the people doing it don't even realise because they're just on top of bodies fueled up by cocaine and alcohol. Pretty unfair to blame the Major for that death, I would think. I mean, you're in charge, so I get it, and that's the values you bring from being obsessed with World War II constantly. Always, the man in charge being at fault, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Even though it looked like it was his own men who crushed his.
Yeah, I think that was a point.
Is that kind of the point?
Yeah,
Okay, fair enough. There is the emotional moment, like when Charlie Hunnam sacrifices himself. He knows he's going to die. Charlie Hunnam dies, by the way. Spoilers. And it is a good moment.
Football Factory spoiler as well in there as well. Nothing happens.
Sorry. But spoilers. Well, don't watch the podcast. Don't listen to the podcast. It has emotional moments, but Football Factory was so much fun. And less than an hour and a half as well. It flew by. It's so funny. They're all so funny. The fact that Danny Dyer has a tiny knob, hilarious.
Yeah.
The other guy from Utopia,
he's
like
a donkey.
Is that what it is? Yeah. It's great. Rod.
But he's got that
Rod with his massive rod.
Good old Rod.
And also Rod, when it's so funny. He doesn't learn anything either. He's like, I've got to choose this new girlfriend over football. And he goes for this dinner with the girlfriend's parents, and the way he ends the dinner is by doing a whole bag of coke in the bathroom, coming out and telling them how much he likes to split schools, and then he goes, check, no, don't worry, I'll get it, to the dad, the dad was gonna pay you fucking prick.
I mean, the guy from Utopia, I don't know his name. No idea.
He's a good actor.
Air conditioning unit man. Yeah. He just seems to have.
Rod.
He almost. It's weird because he's like successful in that line of work clearly, and then he's just like got this other. I thought he was quite an interesting character. They just seem much more real every single time. The Football Factory characters,
like the granddads as well. Like I felt sorry for the one that died who really wanted to go to Australia, and the other one who Tommy Johnson, his granddad, and he has a good moment where he calls a couple of the young pricks, slaps them because they're being racist.
And he's like, you don't know you're fucking born.
Yeah.
To him, yeah.
And he's basically Danny Dyer's conscience in the film.
Yes.
Which obviously doesn't work from what I've already said. He doesn't give a fuck. He's just telling them that, they're all fascists and that's not what we fought for in the war, even though they look up to these war heroes and the war heroes think they're all scum, basically.
Yeah, the characters in Football Factory get it a bit mixed up and they think that they're actually fighting for something important, whereas the granddads fought for their country.
They think they're fighting for their country too. They think they're fighting against immigration and all that stuff, which we do not agree with, just to make clear.
Yeah.
They think they're doing the same thing that those war heroes do, but they're completely missing the point.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they've just completely missed the point, and it's more about bravado than it is about actually fighting for a purpose. It's more about who's better than who, reputation. It's it's nothing.
Yeah, which is done much better in Green Street. The Major, his whole speech about it being bollocks and it was all about reputation. It's a good little speech, I thought, trying to warn Elijah Wood, because Elijah Wood studied journalism, so basically as soon as that gets found out, he's going to be killed. But I did not think Blythe also was going to be the Major. I thought that was just something. I thought that was going to be like an old dead man that they all look up to. I did not see that coming whatsoever.
No, I don't think I did.
It makes total sense.
Yeah, it does.
On reflection.
I thought he was a nutter to start with, because obviously he pins up his brother against the wall.
Pins up Elijah Wood
and his brother. He does it to both.
I think he does it. He definitely
does it to Pete first, and then Elijah Wood
stops it.
Yeah.
Jumps in.
And at that point, I was like, I wrote down, brother is odd.
Yeah,
something's going on there, but I didn't make the connection to it. To be honest,
I have to say that is probably my favourite scene in the whole film, is when he's trying to get Matt out of the pub and he's got his black beanie on and his leather jacket,
stupid.
and his leather jacket on, like I'm doing air quotes, disguised.
Oh my god, it's the Major! Oh,
and then the bell.
God, no, this again.
And then the bell goes,
famous.
and he goes. Yeah, it says the whole thing about the Major back in the Abbey after all this time, and then Stevie Dunham in the Abbey after all this time.
Didn't it? It sounds so Peaky Blinders.
Yeah,
almost. Which is once again is just like a thing born out of war and desperation for belonging. It's just it's crazy.
Well, going back to what we said at the start about they're both completely different sort of styles of film, Green Street doesn't glamorize it at all and makes it very clear that it inevitably will be taken too far at some point and someone will die, which is obviously Pete Dunham at the end. Spoiler again.
Someone dies in Football Factory as well. That kid dies.
Yeah, but
then Danny Dyer's like, nah, I actually love this.
But the kid, but the kid who dies in Football Factory, it's nothing to do with football. It's because he beat up a drug dealer. So it's sort of like
when that drug dealer came in, me and Elliot, my housemate, looked at each other and went, "Yep, fair enough." Yeah. He beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, like slammed the car door on his head.
I thought that guy was dead, so I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, that's why. I thought that was the whole point in that scene ending there. It's like he's gone too far.
Yeah. Because he loved the other one loved the sniff. The 2 feet, well, they loved it.
I think they were both a drug addict.
They all loved it.
His name's Zebedee.
Yeah.
And in Football Factory, another funny scene, one that always makes me laugh, is when Billy Bright's house gets robbed. And they're like, call the phone. And if they pick up, like, you just scare the shit out of them. And then they're on the bus on the way to Man United or wherever they're going. And
Liverpool, that one, isn't it?
Somewhere.
Certainly somewhere.
Yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, it's got Walk of the Valkyries on it. That'll scare the shit out of him and stuff like that. And then he calls the phone, and then Zebedee's got the phone on him at the back of the bus. And it's just that moment where he looks over at him. It's like, you fucked up there.
I just want to pick on that point of that guy. What song is his ringtone?
Walk of the Valkyries.
Walk of the Valkyries.
Fly of the Valkyries or whatever.
Yeah, which is like the war. Yeah, the war one, right? And it's so funny and so poignant of every character in Football Factory that they think they're the dog's bollocks. They think, oh yeah, my ringtone's this. It's fucking awesome, and it'll scare the little shits. And it's just like, you're just a fucking loser. You're just a loser. Honestly.
But then on that robbery where they burgle his house, I was slightly confused as to whether or not that was on purpose or by accident.
Well, it's claimed that it's on by accident, which is more
that's what they say.
But I think that is way more the case that it was an accident, because they don't know where Billy lives.
Well, I want to point out, they would all know where everyone lives.
They all live on the same estate.
They all live on the same fucking street. Because when Danny Dyer comes out thinking he's
killed his
beaten
wife.
His wife.
Beating
Billy's wife, yeah.
He comes out of his rods. He comes out of his mate's house, Rod, walks 20 seconds to Bright's house.
Billy Bright's house, yeah.
So they're all basically neighbours, which also makes sense because they're all the same firm. Like, for me, them stealing and robbing was a bit like, you would know where this scary man's house is. This guy bullies one of them profusely. You would know where he lives.
Yeah.
Because you would know where he lives for like security and meetups. Like, you would have meetings and I don't know. I mean, I suppose you go to the pub.
I was 50-50. I wasn't really sure. I mean, obviously it doesn't make too much of a difference. No. But, I don't know.
Yeah.
The kids throwing darts at them was funny.
But the reason that Billy bullies Zebedee is because Zebedee doesn't look up to him. Yeah, and he looks up to Harrison, I think, the leader of the Chelsea firm.
Another nutcase, but you don't get to see very much of him.
Although he is a nutcase, he seems way more sort of
He's more like a general.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
That's what they say, I believe.
I know that. I mean, I'm using the term reasonable lightly there, but like, I reckon.
Go on, leave it
I
out.
think
Yeah.
he cares.
Yeah.
He cares about being caught, whereas
Yeah.
Billy Bright
He's-
quite likes being caught.
He's way more regimented.
because he wants to prove himself.
Harrison is the one who organises all the meets. It looks like he books the
booked the
coach.
coach.
He's
He's
got
got
a
a
fucking
clipboard.
clipboard with everyone's name on it.
Everyone here,
Take him-
say I want to
Yeah.
say your name.
Yeah. Firm meeting. Tommy Hatcher, present.
Present.
If it wasn't so horrible, it'd almost be cute that they're all like just organising things together and like, you know, if it wasn't that they were all horrible.
Yeah, if it's the innocent,
They're
but
taking a
even
lot of time and effort.
For me, even like the innocent people in football that do it for fun and a laugh, it is still too much. Like seeing the videos of the streets of London after the Euros, well, no, during the Euros and after and the aftermath, it's just a shithole. It's just like, come on, just have a nice time. Just like I don't get why you have to be. It's almost like you have to be bothering other people with your happiness and joy at something, which makes me just think, well, you don't actually like the thing, you just like the presence of yourself enjoying a thing, which is basically the root of all of this, the reputation.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the reason I picked these two films was A, because I knew that you two had probably never seen them, and B, because...
Are you surprised? I quite liked one of them. Well, I quite like both of them, but I really enjoyed Football Factory. I thought it was so fun.
Yeah, actually, I think I am a little bit surprised, but not like in a, oh shit, my joke didn't work. More of like, I'm glad that you, because I'm the same. Like, you know, watching them back again after a long time since watching them, I very much enjoyed Football Factory this time around. And whether it's years ago, Green Street was the one that I really liked, because I think it had people I recognised in.
Yeah.
You know, it was.
Oh my God, it's Frodo. I mean,
like
Bilbo. I mean, Frodo.
Yeah, exactly. And the action in it's a bit more.
If he cuts it out, then he comes back to that.
No, he can't cut it out
I'm not
because
gonna
it's
be
an
like
integral
I'm not
joke for
cutting
the
it out. I'm
podcast.
not
Threading it all through.
I've made sure.
Genius.
I will not cut it
I
out.
think-
I
I
promise.
Football Factory is made by Danny Dyer and Green Street is broken by Charlie Hunnam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Turkish guy, as they say, who's in Layer Cake, I believe. Oh no, actually, I might be getting that wrong. I can't remember, but I quite like him in it. An interesting dynamic that a racist sells his drugs to a person of color who also is Millwall. So they're all Chelsea, right?
Yeah.
They're all Chelsea, Danny Dyer and all them lot, and it's so funny. So before Millwall and Chelsea play, the under-16s play, is it?
No, it's under-11s. So it's like they're kids.
So
Yeah,
the
yeah,
under-11s play, and who happens to both have kids in those teams is the guy selling the drugs and the guy buying the drugs, who are on opposing sides of the pitch. And the scene's so funny. First off, the insults are very funny. I think they were hilarious. And then they just have a scrap in the middle of this under-11s.
And the referee calls it off. He's like, if you can't play nicely, don't.
And it's just like, you're children. You're children. You can't hold yourselves back.
Well, it's all very much the insular kind of, they're just in their own world.
Yeah.
And that's why you would do that, because you don't care about anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, other than yourself. You wouldn't fight.
No.
And like,
Any reasonable man. Let's have a conversation.
Let's have a conversation about how much of a cunt you are.
in Football Factory, the ones that have family, you meet them and you sort of get their perspective of
How it affects it.
but they don't comment on.
The wife hates him.
Yeah, the wife of Billy Bright like resents him, hates him, and like he even says when he hear, when they all chatting shit about him, and when Harrison and all the other lot are chatting shit about him in the room in the pub, and then he goes back and he even says there's that one tiny moment where you see Billy Bright like acting a little bit vulnerable, and he says, "I'm all right, aren't I?" to his wife, and she's like, "What are you on about?" And he's like, "I'm all right, aren't I? You think I'm all right, don't you?" And she goes, "Of course I do, you silly sod." And like but then that's it. That's about as emotional as they get.
Because then he had a lovely
couple.
fish and chip supper.
Yeah, and like she
saw him straight at.
She served it through the fucking serving
hatch.
hatch as well.
Hatches.
It's like,
did you two have hatches?
Yes,
Did you not?
Yeah.
See, that's you in a nice Victorian house.
Yeah.
Me and Eden house was built in the 70s. Yeah, we had hatches, which then got turned into a door, which then got turned into. It's there, but it's not actually a door. We use the other door now, and it's like just the most English thing,
literally,
in the world.
And then your mum would put hers on the other side, walk round, and then get it and sit down.
No one would help your mum.
Have some sauce.
You've all got your food.
For fuck's sake. Go around,
but
through the hatch again.
But the point is with the families is, you sort of see them a bit, not a lot, but you see them and you sort of.
You see enough
their
to make it like real.
But in Green Street, the only family member that you meet are Shannon, which is Matt, Elijah Wood's character's sister.
The family are all like brothers or whatever, but there's no parents of any of them, and that makes it very much clear these films are like, I would say, more teenage focused, because it's like there are no parents here.
Yeah.
And it's we can do whatever we want because there's no parents. If you had parents coming in, it'd be like, oh God, I can't.
Yeah.
Whereas
there's no mention of parents. There's no mention of upbringing, really.
The only
that's
one
what I mean.
struggled.
Like, you don't see their partners, if they have any. Like, you see one, but she's just doing the washing up.
She's doing the washing up, and it's the morning of the big fight.
And he just gives a kiss and walks out, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, it's because they don't. It appears to me that these types of men will have families because that's what you do, but they don't care about them. Other than they have to pretend to care about them. They'll look after my kids.
Which is more reminiscent of like Fight Club and like basically all men are
their life
psychopaths, and they hate their wives, hate their lives.
Well, he's sat on a sofa, isn't he? And then they get called up, and he's like, right, yeah, brilliant. Tuesday night, go to the pub and get the gear on. And it's like, well, you can't really care too much about looking after your children if you'll go at the drop of the hat and just do it over cocaine.
He's having a lovely time at home, presumably after dinner. He's on his recliner. His kids are on the chair with his kids. Like, seem to really like him. This is the racist in Football Factory, like
Billy Bright.
Like, he's got his kids like on the armchairs, like snuggling up. That's like it looks like he's having a lovely evening, and then he does the Cockney rhyming slang that has to be translated on screen, and he at a drop of a dime, he goes to the pub and gets on the packet. It's insane.
Yeah, but some people live for that shit though, man, and they think, and they.
I know, and we've known plenty of people that you get worried about. Not so much anymore. I think most of them have grown out of it. Like, a lot of people, I think, have COVID to thank for stopping some of their bad habits that may have continued.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but I've known plenty of people, and I'm just like, they come down to the pub, they're getting pissed on a Tuesday or whatever. I mean, I'm also there, fair enough, whatever. But they're like, they've left their girlfriend at home, like at their place, and presumably at their like parents' place as well. And I've known people for years, and just like never met their significant others or whatever like that. I just find it odd that you would not want to mix all your relationships all the time. Like, I find the most difficult thing in life is separating stuff. I'd rather just everything be kind of.
But here they have to separate it because they're going to go.
Because it's criminal, essentially.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, Donald, do you fancy coming down to the footy? We're going to go kick the shit out of some people. Do you know what I mean? It's probably a bit of a no-go there. I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, they know what's
It's
happening.
nice to be asked to do things, though, isn't it?
Exactly. I just want to be asked. I don't need to go.
I just like to be asked.
I just like to be involved.
The other thing I wanted to chat if we would get onto this, but sequels.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I wasn't even going to bring the sequels up because they have fuck all to do about.
I don't want to talk about the actual sequels themselves.
Not the
just the
actual
fact
sequels.
they exist.
Bollocks.
But interestingly, Football Factory 2 apparently is around the corner.
Right. So that's the only one I really want to talk about, is that whilst looking at this film to make graphics and whatever else. But yeah, they were literally filming it very recently.
But Danny Dyer's been filming other stuff as well.
With Danny Dyer.
Yeah,
he was there, and there was like pictures, on-set pictures that they got some snaps of.
I was only saying bollocks about the Green Street ones.
There are Football Factory sequels. I saw.
No, there is the real Football Factory, which is a documentary series he does.
No, it's there is a series of films just called The Football Hooligan. And there's also Rise of the Foot Soldier.
Yes.
Go on Amazon Prime. All these shitty football films are there, except for Green Street.
Rise of the Foot Soldier was actually a contender to be one of the two of this episode.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't.
Interesting. I bet I would have hated it. It looked terrible.
It wasn't football focused enough for it to be in contention.
Because there's a film called The Firm as well, right?
That one's a more recent film, I believe. The Firm.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's insane how many
It's
there
got
are.
what's his face from Arthur Shelby.
Well, that might be the same director as Football Factory then.
Football Factory was, I think, produced by Rockstar Games.
Yes, Rockstar Games.
And GTA 3, Vice City was in there.
Yeah, Rod's playing it.
Yeah.
Where's that come from?
They used to make films.
Yeah, they used to make films, and they've always sort of paid homage to, they've based games on films that they enjoy. Like, I know how I was bang on about the Warriors. Rockstar made the game after the film because they really liked the film.
Yeah. And GTA pulls from a million things, same as Red Dead, Bully. I did have the thought though, do you think they were gonna make a Football Hooligan game in the same vein as Bully, but then they got too big? Like, the reason they've never really gone back to Bully is because it's quite crude, and they're
it's
obviously
also
like a
insular world, isn't it? It's very small scale.
You can't sell that mainstream. Although I think Bully does like very well on the remastered and stuff like that. But maybe a Football Hooligan film, because essentially it would work the same way as the Warriors game.
But the Rockstar, the GTA side of stuff is guns. So there was a London GTA. But it was like
they're from Scotland.
But I think like the gun side of stuff is quite big in GTA.
As soon as it went first person instead of top down, changes the whole game, doesn't it?
And I think you wouldn't be able to do a gun game in the UK, really, in the same way.
Well, there's always the leaks of they're going to make a GTA London, but seeing as GTA 6 has taken a gazillion years, we'll never know.
We'll never know.
I also wanted to mention in the opening scene of Football Factory, Danny Dyer looks like a flasher.
Yes,
in his big trench coat. And the outfits. I think actually the outfits in both films are actually fairly good.
Yeah, well, I did want to step on Stone Island.
Stone
Island.
Step on.
I've never really understood, what this brand is. I know it's kind of like I didn't know it was specifically Football Hooligan kind of stuff. It's very apparent after these two films because they're all wearing it. Every single one of them has got that little badge. And I've always thought growing up, and this may offend some people, and I don't mean to offend some people, but if I saw that badge on someone's arm, I thought, you're probably a cunt.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do see that badge and think red flag, but I mean, it
doesn't. Obviously, it's just a superficial thing, and I know people that wear that stuff, and they're lovely. But at first glance, sure, red flag.
What Stone Island is essentially is just it's a designer brand that's been taken on by people who go to the footy and
to show off their money, presumably.
I've
got a bit of dosh. I've got Stone Island.
Maybe, but I think it's maybe got a bit of a bad rep that. If some people,
it then became
a thing, being worn by the wrong people. So it doesn't mean that everybody who wears Stone Island is a football hooligan.
No,
but
it's like outfits, isn't it? If it's going back to the army kind of thing, it's almost like an outfit, like uniform.
Yeah.
And that's
when you become soldiers. Yeah, I did. When Danny Dyer puts on this one shirt and Rod goes, "You look like a fucking vicar." The shirts, the whole outfits. The jeans and shirts and what the girls are wearing as well in these clubs, and it's all so gross, and I can remember it. Clothes are so much better now. I remember all those kind of clothes, all those kind of outfits, and they were always just uncomfortable. You'd sweat a shit ton, like it was all skinny and yet baggy at the same time. None of the materials was nice. Yeah, just everything was badly fitted. It was just all gross because we're born in 96, so, you know, it's like the end of the noughties and where all that fashion, I remember just being a little greb, just kind of by accident almost. And just, I think about those clothes and I think they were all so horrible. All so horrible.
It's a very distinctive
the ripped jeans, the kind of those kind of white belts when they are always a big
studded,
thing.
lots of studded belts,
lots of studded stuff, and just these shirts that were designed to be rolled up, and little tags in random places. And I'm so glad we've just gone back to the kind of this like old style fashion at the moment. It's kind of like just European, just kind of nice, smart, casual, just like all flows nice, linen, and just all this stuff's comfy to be in.
Going back to the Stone Island thing, it doesn't mean that everybody who wears it is going to kick the shit out of you.
No.
It just means it just is like.
And to be honest, the one Charlie Hunnam wears, that big jacket, I like.
There's a lot, mate. Honestly, there's a lot of Stone Island stuff that is fucking lovely. It just looks so nice. But unfortunately, say if like me or any of us three just turned up with all our mates, one of us just turned up wearing a Stone Island jumper or a Stone Island jacket or something, you know for a fact someone will point it out and go, why the fuck have you got that on for? Do you know what I mean? Which I think is fucking bonkers.
Didn't know we were going out for a fight.
Yeah, literally. Because it's like all these connotations around certain things like clothes, the beer that you drink. Like if you drink Stella, you kick the shit out of your missus. If you wear Stone Island, you're a football hooligan. If you wear a bum bag, you're a fucking roadman. Do you know what I mean? Like all these things that have been then taken on into a negative thing by...
it's really, the bum bag used to be a fanny pack.
These things that have then crept into sort of culture and been associated with a bad bunch, but then anybody else who then is seen wearing it is then cast into that sort of bracket, which isn't right.
Like the big thing with hoodies, there was literally laws brought in so you couldn't wear your hood up, you know, in shopping markets, presumably because of people like this. But there's always stuff like that. But there's plenty of clothes in these films that I like. Danny Dyer, at one point, it's very weird because he's wearing like these horrible blue washed ripped jeans, and then an Argyle jumper, and I was like, Argyle jumper's not bad. It's a bit deep on the V, but everything's deep on the V in the noise.
Oh my god, deep
so
V's. So many deep
But there's plenty of like zip up cardigans, which you see me wear those type of things where they like essentially become a turtleneck. I like those, those type of things. It's just sometimes when you put these things together and you gel your spiky hair.
Yeah, man. I've never seen so much gel in my life.
You know what I liked in Football Factory? Because they're doing so much cocaine, they're also sweaty all the time.
Yeah, they're always glistening.
Because presumably it's like not a choice, it's just that they probably didn't have very good hair and makeup on the day.
Yeah. All these damn pubs and stuff, though, aren't they? Like dank, horrible pubs where they're
very
all like,
real.
And that's probably, it's just all very humid and horrible.
When they like first go into those pubs, I'm like, those pubs look nice. They look nice. And it did make me think, smoking in pubs. Yeah, probably did kill pubs a little bit, didn't it? Because they're all just fucking there, just drinking and smoking constantly.
Well, like in Green Street, Bother's smoking fucking everywhere. He's chuffing away in the pub,
in the tube,
on the tube, and then in the hospital.
The other thing which I thought was interesting was in Green Street, journalism is not seen very well.
A death warrant,
and it's a big part of the film. Obviously, Elijah Wood is the journalist student, but in Football Factory, not mentioned at all. Don't seem to give a shit about journalism. Not mentioned to.
I suppose it just doesn't come up.
I just don't think they seem to care. It's all like the reputation and stuff for them. It's just like the reputation within the groups of firms. Whereas in Green Street, there seems to be this whole journalist spinning stuff point. Which in Football Factory, they're like, well, yeah, that seems. If they did spin, then it's not really spin. It's that is who we are.
Which I get in like any criminal syndicate. Like you're just a rat, aren't you? You know, if you're recording stuff in any what way.
Because normally there's like, we don't like journalists because this happened or whatever. But was it just the general... Seemed to be in Greece, it was just a general, they just didn't like...
In my mind,
it just seemed odd.
It's just if you're a journalist, you're a rat.
Yeah, it just
seemed
seemed
odd. And if you're
odd,
a journalist, you're learning about how they operate. And you don't want people to know how they operate. And you would never in a million years want someone to publish how they operate. I mean, we're only getting to a point now where old gangsters are coming out on YouTube and doing their own stuff and like dealing all the details
They've
and
written
stuff
books
like
about that before.
Yeah, I know, and obviously,
but
like,
what's the
Goodfellas
detail of Green
basically-
Street? Is we go to a football game and try and kick the shit out of each other. It doesn't seem to be much.
No, but I think
behind
that's
it.
the point, right? I think. I mean, I don't know, but maybe someone who's listening to this knows more. But like, once you get more recognition, and once, especially the police, start to understand your tactics more, start to understand your slang more, like they're putting in paper ads that they have to decode. Once again, like the war. Once you got the Enigma code, like you cracked it, and you can learn where they're going to go, and you can squash them.
Yeah, that just sort of seems to come out of nowhere, because they don't ever mention like, oh yeah, we got done in by a journalist at some point, or like someone we know got sent to prison because of a journalist or something. They never mention that. They just hate them. But they say it at the breakfast van after the first fight with the Birmingham lot. Pete goes, like, he's reading the paper and he goes, West Ham won 3-1 last night, but our little scrap made the front page. And it's sort of like that whole like, but yeah, because that's what people want to read about. He can't separate that what he's doing is, it's something that people find fascinating, but for him it's just something that he does and doesn't think about. Whether it's for a normal person like us, it's like I couldn't ever get into the mindset of being willing to just fight somebody for no reason.
No, I do.
I'll fight anyone in that, for that matter.
I do wonder off that point whether maybe Charlie Hunnam's character, because he's a history and PE teacher at primary school, I wonder if maybe he was really good at football as a kid. Maybe he was like really good but not good enough to become a footballer. So then, and maybe this is the case with some of those type of people, that because like he's not bothered about the score, he's bothered that they got on the front page, so it's all about him, all about me, blah blah blah. So I wonder if like some of those people, and it would make more sense with him being a PE teacher, that maybe he was good at football and he was like, well, if I can't fucking play football, then I'm going to join a firm and get into this.
He's annoyed that the scrap is on the front page and not the West Ham score is on the front page.
Well, I totally misread that in the film and when you just said it.
But I mean, a lot of people would have played. I mean, football is the key sport in England, so they're all probably playing football.
Yeah, well, that's what he says in it. Elijah was like, oh, they must be on track to the Olympic team. And he's like, no, they're just normal kids in England because everyone plays football. I mean, even I played schoolyard football.
Well, also, I mean, the actual culture within football itself was much closer to this when you go back. Like, footballers used to smoke and drink loads, and then, like, since Arsene Wenger and stuff, it became much more professionalised with, like, not drinking and smoking to start with, and then, doing, like, warm-ups and
whatever Vinnie
fitness
Jones
and stuff.
says, they're better now. There is one quote that Danny Dyer says, which is, can't wait to see your fanny.
Yeah.
I'm just like, is that how you talk to women? And you know what? It's so annoying.
How rude of you, Sam.
The women are loving it.
Yeah, well, that is...
They love those naughty little boys. Shall we get the tequilas in? It's so
Cheeky tequila.
Cheeky tequila.
Cheeky tequila.
Shall we get on it? Shall we get fucked?
Should we get on it? Gross.
I don't know. If you took it serious, you took it serious. But for me, I was just having such a great time laughing at everyone and their actions. It was just so funny.
But that's it. I think that's the point, is that they're all idiots and it's supposed to be that sort of vibe.
But they're scary. Like,
terrifying.
In Football Factory, I think the violence is like hits a lot more.
Yeah.
Sound effects are a bit over the top for me, but
I don't know. It just
it's much more realistic.
It just feels a bit more realistic. It's just a bit more rough and tumble.
The stitch
Green
work on Danny
Street.
Dyer is terrible.
I remember there was one.
Yeah,
like,
it is, isn't it?
Oh,
yeah,
at the end.
Right at the
It's
end.
like just
bulging out
I've
of
done
his
it.
head.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. Where
All
did you go for that?
Yeah, so loose.
Yeah.
But like, there's one bit where Charlie Hunnam's fighting, and it does a couple cuts, like it's fucking Taken or whatever, where he stomps on a guy's foot to get his arm free to punch the other guy, to then punch the other guy, and I'm like, I can see why he became a leading action hero, but this is not the place
No,
for that.
no.
Yeah, it's a scrap.
Yeah, with the fight at the end as well. The fight at the end in Football Factory. They meet in the remote location under a bridge somewhere, but the way it's filmed looks like it's sort of
just someone who was passing by.
Yeah,
and the way the police intervene
whatever,
and stuff
then
is.
the police come running in, and
Yeah, they
everyone
have
gets-
some police camera footage from the helicopter, don't they?
Yeah.
And they're
infrared.
segmenting them off, and they're breaking it up over time, and it's kind of
and how they come in with the sticks and stuff. It was so fun seeing those batons. I used to play with the PC that used to come to my school. He used to let you play with that, and they fucking flips out like that, and it's pure steel or whatever it was.
The context will be necessary.
I mean,
honestly.
I say funnily enough.
Well, it was at an after school club, and
Tommy,
yeah.
Tommy.
I won't say. I won't say
Do you
his
want to
last
get
name.
into it now?
I won't say his last name. Oh, I see. He wasn't being me, no,
Okay.
or anything else, no.
Well, thank you for clarifying. I mean, I didn't think that until you said it.
It's an
So.
after school club.
Well, you both went very quiet, so I figured.
I just wanted to see where it would go.
It was an after schools club.
Okay.
It was official. It was official.
Leave it at that. But Tommy Hatcher in Green Street has one of them police batons at the end too. Where the fuck did he get that from? Just like flicks it out, and then it looks like he breaks his knee or dislocates his knee.
They're
or
so
something.
much more quicker
Pete's
to
knee.
use weapons in Green Street. In Football Factory, like the whole point of it is like, I just love the fight. I just love the feeling of another man on my skin. They just love the fight, and like it's not about murder or killing. It becomes that because inevitably it will. But in Green Street, from the very get-go, it feels like anyone could get
The stakes
killed.
are much higher.
It just feels like because there's knives in like the second fight. Yeah, when Elijah Wood's going home, they're going to give him the
Chelsea grin.
Chelsea grin. So they put a credit card in his mouth and basically just slits the side of your mouth.
I do not like that.
See, I don't mind saying that when I first watched that film, I didn't think that would work, so I tried it. I did it to myself. And I can tell you, it didn't work. My mouth didn't bleed. So I'm calling bullshit on it.
So you put a credit card in your mouth
Yeah, I'll do it now.
and then punch yourself in the mouth.
He didn't punch him, did he?
No, because he didn't get a chance to.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I thought they just put no, because they didn't punch him, because they put it in and it was just in his mouth. And
I know
and the corner
he's
of his lips were bleeding.
I know he still does bleed out the corner of his lips.
Yeah, and that's what I was like, that wouldn't happen.
He was ramping up, I think, to kick his teeth in and kick the card like so it slices him. That's what I thought it was.
I think did you when you did it? Did you? I mean, God forbid. Did you shove it into your mouth as hard as you could?
No, I just put it. I just like.
Yeah, well, I don't. If you place a credit card gently into your mouth, I don't think anything's going to happen. I think the man did it. Didn't just go. Sorry, just open wide.
Just
and
sound
just
like
pop
you
it
want
in.
to put something in your mouth.
Probably. I mean, I don't know. Yeah,
Give me that ban.
I thought it would work, and it didn't work. So.
If I gently put this.
Well, I just
police
wanted to
baton in your
see. I
mouth.
just wanted to see. I was
Turn
like
into
13
metal.
or 14 or something, and I was like, I just want to see if this would work, and it didn't work. So I thought that would fucking bollocks. It never happened. But
I don't think
didn't
that would get on
understand it.
Brainiac.
I didn't know that there was. I didn't know that there was a prestige to this.
I mean, at first I thought they were going to give him a Glaswegian smile or whatever it is.
no, that's when they.
Yeah,
put
I know. That's what. But
Like the
I thought he
Joker.
got. I swear he got a knife out
Didn't
at
he
the
have a
same.
Stanley
Someone got a knife.
plane?
No, that's the. I think that's the Scousers.
Oh,
That's
that's
in
when they.
Football
That's when they
Factory.
have
That's in
the
Football
glasses
Factory.
and the coach.
But I'm
You
pretty
know
sure
what
he had
Stanley?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has a knife because. Rafe Spall is in Green Street, by the way. One of the Andys in Detective
Yeah,
Andys.
yeah.
He's great.
He's the one who's like bollocks.
Yeah,
Bollocks.
Where
You've
he's
been here
at-
5 minutes and you're lying.
He lies to me. So who's your mentor? Because they're convinced that that he's karate kid.
yeah.
As if that kind of scene,
Double black belt.
Yeah.
In karate.
that kind of scene there perfectly sums up why you would get interested in it. Like why Elijah Wood instantly was like brought in, lads having lads, taking the piss out
Having a
of each
drink or
other,
whatever.
getting so drunk.
Well drunk.
Getting so drunk, crazy. Got some bookers in. Saw that, and I was like, bleh, bleh, gross. And yeah, Ray Spall is a funny little lad. In it, he's so unrecognizable when he's young because he's just got some weight to him that he loses.
Well, it's
very
like Shaun
quickly
of
on.
the Dead vibe, isn't it? When he's the shop boy in Shaun's work. Do you remember?
Yeah. And then in the next one, Hot Fuzz is like,
How old are you?
just
Like
lost it.
20, 22, 17?
So good.
But yeah, Rafe Spall is funny in that. I really liked him in
I
that.
mean, I thought it did sum up like a bunch of lads just having a good time. Especially in that beginning scene. Why do you have to go spoil it? Just have a nice time in the pub.
Friendship.
And then wander home and get a kebab and then fall asleep.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I mean, okay, well, I'm just going to ask. If you had to pick between Green Street and Football Factory... hang on. If you had to pick between Football Factory and Green Street, which one would you watch?
Football Factory.
That was Callum, by the way.
I would, it'd be Football Factory. I would say that I'm not going to watch it again.
No, and you don't have to.
Thank you.
I might watch Football Factory.
I mean,
again.
you are, yeah. You're
Football Factory.
I might.
I might watch it.
I think without the constant premonitions, that would help me.
Yeah, but I thought it was funny seeing Danny Dyer getting beaten up over and over again. He gets the absolute shit kicked out.
And not understanding what it meant.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What could I possibly glean from this situation?
But I agree with both of you. I'd watch, if I had to choose, if you'd have asked me this 15 years ago, I would have picked Green Street, but after watching it again,
yeah, I mean,
Football Factory.
I don't know if either of you got the numbers, but like Green Street was in the zeitgeist. Like as being
I
a
do
kid.
have the numbers.
Okay, well there you go. But like
I think it cost $4 million to make.
But like Football Factory.
No.
But Football Factory had no idea that existed really until I was much older.
Oh, box office.
Whereas Green Street was everywhere. I remember Green Street being everywhere and being very influential.
So, Green Street, or if you're in America, Green Street Hooligans.
Exclamation mark.
God knows, mate. So the budget for Green Street was £346,000. On opening, it made £821,000, and worldwide, it made $3.8 million.
Fuck yeah, no.
So that's pretty good. Pretty good. And a rating of 7.4 on IMDb and 46% on Rotten Tomatoes.
People like this film, which does blow me away.
And then Football Factory, which I think is even more... it's not as impressive, but
fuck off.
Budget was 500,000, and then it grossed worldwide 2.1 million.
It cost more.
Yeah, it cost more.
That's insane.
And I couldn't find anything about an opening because I don't think it was in cinemas. It was just straight to DVD.
Yeah, I think that might be right.
Which is crazy to think about how much money you were able to recoup on DVD sales.
Yeah, exactly. So the numbers for Football Factory that was what I could find. And sorry, the rating for Football Factory is 6.7 on IMDb and 38% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I did see those ratings afterwards, and I was like, I get it. I understand the ratings, but they are wrong.
Football Factory is much more. You would need, I think, in order to actually get it, you would need to understand English culture or be.
You
English.
might need to be
and Green Street, you
British
don't need
more
to be.
so. Yeah.
I would say most of the sales of that film were definitely in the UK.
Yeah,
maybe Ireland too, but
yeah, maybe.
Also, a little tidbit in the Green Street is when he goes and does the journalist thing, and he meets the head of the Times or something.
Yeah.
They say something like the Epstein account.
That's right at the end.
That's right at the end.
That's what's his name?
The dickhead.
Van Holden.
Yeah,
Jeremy
He's like,
Van Holden.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. He's in Texas.
They're all
congratulations
big oil
on the
guys.
Weinstein account.
But in Green Street, they like glorify the violence because Elijah Wood is able to beat that guy up at the end and
Well, once
whatever.
again, they're like...
But he doesn't, though. He just trips him up.
Well, yeah, but he's like, he could beat him up if he wants to, so it's like violence is king and he's got confidence. Whereas Football Factory is just, this guy's just been absolutely smashed up a bit and you can see he's a bit of an idiot. And it's not like violence
but he
wins,
fucking loves it.
He fucking
But
loves
it's the same thing with Green Street. It's like, there's meant to be this moral learning. But actually, no, fuck that. Elijah Wood went to the fight.
Yeah.
He went to the fight. So they're both just saying, actually... This is really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really good. Get stuck in.
Yeah.
Get stuck
Which is
in,
the classic
lads.
Guy Ritchie issue as well of a lot of his films. Is like you're just kind of a lot of people just say you're glorifying gangster violence.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of the problem with Martin Scorsese as well, isn't it?
The way with Green Street, I wrote in big capitals. Once again, accent accentuates shitness. And I
will say this about Charlie Hunnam's accent: threw me so much at the start. Probably 20 minutes in, it wasn't really bothering me anymore.
Yeah, you sort of get used to it. You get used to it. At first, it's quite abrasive, and you're like, "Holy shit, where are you from?" And then
there were points where I was like, "Oh, I can really tell." And if you pay attention, obviously, it's gonna frustrate you.
I read some reviews of actual real life West Ham fans, and the main irk that I could find with them was that
too pretty.
No, not that. It was the how they spoke was, you know, real Cockneys don't use Cockney rhyming slang all the time, and that was the big irk with them, was that the way that they spoke wasn't, you know, realistic in any way. But then
your honeys and your bees,
your bees and honey and your
apples and
septic
pears.
tank for yank and all that sort of stuff.
Get
and
my power tools.
Yeah, but with Football Factory, like you said, they only really did it once, and they subtitled it to make it obvious that people do speak like that sometimes when it's necessary.
They're using it for code.
Yeah, for code, because he was with his kids and his wife.
Yeah.
And but in
having
Green
a
Street,
lovely time.
Yeah, and they also say, you know, like it's just not. It's sort of laughable. And someone said if Charlie Hunnam walked into a pub in West Ham with an accent like that, he'd get the shit kicked out of him. And it was sort of like, well, you know, that's probably...
I would just like to say, this is not the worst British accent he's ever done. There is a show called Undeclared, which is made by the same people that make Freaks and Geeks. I don't know if you ever watched it.
I've seen Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah. So maybe I don't know if it's the same people, but it's Judd Apatow. And it came after Freaks and Geeks, and it's got Charlie Hunnam in it, and he plays a exchange student from Britain. Never says where from, just like he's British kind of, and he wears a vest that has a Union Jack on it, and it is the worst English accent ever, because it's just the most stereotypical American version of a British accent.
I just don't understand where he...
Hello, governor.
Hello, mate.
Yeah.
I couldn't even try and replicate
but
the
it's
voice
it's
he
got
does.
such a weird twang in it as well. But you talk about reception. Apparently, West Ham, the football club, were like, "Oh my god, great! There's a film about us," and were like promoting it for Green Street until they realised it was saying that there was football hooliganism, and then they had to backtrack and be like, "Oh no, we don't like it."
I was only joking.
He's only joking about the football hooliganism.
But it does point to that kind of it unearthed, drawing a bit to the mainstream more than it was already, I guess. Because obviously the big stuff was when there was examples of Liverpool going to Luxembourg, I think, and them having to draft in police from France because they didn't have enough police officers to deal with the Liverpool firm.
Oh wow!
And just huge, and they knew there'll be massive fights and stuff, and it was they just didn't. There was more. They just needed more police officers.
I think if you're willing to travel and pay money to go abroad just to kick the shit out of someone, there's something.
But there was also there was recent ones with ultras and stuff like that, and there's kind of it goes up and down a bit, but it's certainly I think at the time it seemed to cause a fair bit of controversy. I think there's a famous film review Mark Commode or something, and he just says they both glorify it. But I think Danny Dyer actually falls out with Mark Commode. I think he said he wanted to hit him or something.
Do his nutting.
He wants to batter him.
He wanted to batter him, and I was like, "You're not playing to your strengths."
This fucking Sweden, mate.
You're proving his point. You're proving his point.
You've fallen into his trap, Danny. Don't do it.
Get out my pub.
Yeah. Carry on being a national treasure, Danny, because we love you.
He said apparently when he was younger that he got bullied for acting.
Well, fucking bang him out, mate.
Yeah. and Charlie Hunnam apparently was spotted in a JD Sports.
Who was?
Charlie Hunnam. That's how he was found.
Oh yeah, for
some guy
Biker Grove, wasn't it?
Yeah,
he's very handsome.
Do you want to act in here?
Yeah. There you go. That's how it happens. But wait until we start recording this. Who knows? Then they'll see us. Anyway. But yeah.
Bub. Get down, bub.
What's the rhyming slang for pub? Is there any rhyming slang?
The rubber dub. The
rub. Get in the tub.
They say it in the film. They say in Football Factory. I'll see. Oh, what is it?
Down the
Cran. No, that's the name of a pub.
Oh yeah, but I don't know.
Hey Siri. What's Cockney rhyming slang for pub?
Ed's reading.
Ed has his reading face on right now.
Mouth open, eyes down.
Doesn't say anything.
Cut that.
I think maybe the Cockney rhyming slang for pub is just pub.
No. I think it is the rubber dub. tub.
It's not the rubber dub dub tub.
I don't believe you.
I'm not a Cockney rhyme slang expert, but if it, I mean,
Get us in
maybe
the comments, guys.
maybe it is rubber
Let
dub
us
dub
know.
tub.
Let us know. But yes, so we've all unanimous in Football Factory.
Why, yes.
Yes.
So that about wraps it up for today's episode. Thank you very much for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll be back again soon. I've been Ed.
I've been Callum.
And I've been Jules.
Thank you for listening to the This or That podcast. We'll see you later.
I'm going to do Ed's nutting. My arse!